Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it is time for a lower body day. And I started off with an easy training max on the deadlift. On the lower body days, as you guys have noticed, I alternate a back squat with a deadlift as far as just doing a training max to warm up. So I didn't go super heavy, just did 545, which, you guys know I can do for 3 or 4 reps on a decent day. So again, the idea with the training max is what I'm trying to do, I want to keep them above 85% of my true all-out possible max and closer to 90%. But the thing is, what I'm doing with these is using them as a warm-up. Okay, I want to be clear, they're just a warm-up. So it's like I do the nice long pause with a 315 on upper body days on the bench and all that. And the idea is to just maintain a little bit of my neural drive, a little bit of technique for powerlifting, without interfering with my recovery, so that I can come in and optimize my volumes and train essentially for hypertrophy, body composition, bodybuilding, because again, that's what we're going to do for a while. And again, we're making progress. People have definitely noticed body compositions improve. Weak points are getting bigger. Obviously, I still need to continue to lose body fat, tighten that whole waistline up. Right, that is the number one priority, along with getting bigger arms, because arms are pretty much my limiting factor right now in terms of just overall physique. That, and again, tightening up the waistline. But as you guys can see there, again, I still have some loose skin there, but again, as I lose body fat, loose skin will tighten up. Don't ever let anyone try to convince you that you can't eventually diet off most loose skin. It's just that you have to get quite lean for it to happen. Again, it requires you to get to a very, very low body fat, and I'm not quite there yet. But we're going to continue to work on it. It's just going to be slowly but surely. That's going to be the goal for the rest of this year. I started working on this about 6 months ago, branched over from training purely for powerlifting to say, okay, let's bodybuild for a bit. And it's going along well. So on the calf raises, actually I should probably explain what I did on the glute ham raise. I decided to go heavier. I only got about 6 reps, and they were not high quality reps. So I'm like, well, let me drop back down to the 10-pound plate where I can get 10s and really hammer those hamstrings. But I wanted to just kind of assess my rep strength. I like to do that on some of these exercises because the upper body stuff all got stronger, right? The benching got stronger this week. So I'm like, let me just test my hamstrings a little bit. And not really. They didn't really get stronger, and that's okay. As long as we keep them working hard, I think we're in a good place. So again, I'll just stick with the 10-pound plate and work reps and see if I can get it up to 12 rep sets. And once we can get it to 12s, then we'll look at maybe increasing weight a little bit further. For the calf raises, I did decide to bump weight because I'm able to get 12s pretty easy. I'm getting used to stabilizing that bar up top. So I went from the 325 I did last time for 12s and went ahead and put another 50 pounds on. And for those who aren't grasping the plate math, that's a 55-pound squat bar. It's not a 45-pound bar. Of course, the first set felt a little awkward just getting used to the new load, but the second and third set felt really, really good. So super happy with those. And again, I feel like at this point, as long as I push my 3 sets of standing calf raises pretty hard, I think my calves will continue to grow. They'll continue to make progress. And yeah, I started taking calf training seriously not that long ago, and I've realized my calves are too big and too strong with the equipment I have to do seated stuff, so I'm just going to do standing. And all of my big compound movements do hit my calves. They actually do grow from them. So I feel like really I only need the one isolation movement, and if I push it really hard, I think my calves are going to get pretty dang big. Again, keeping in mind I had big calves before I started training them directly a few months ago. Couple months ago, whatever it's been at this point. But I feel like if I can get to a point where on these calf raises, if I can get to say, 500 pounds for some sets of 10, I think my calves will be pretty massive. Although the main thing to keep in mind, I do need to keep my arms the same size as my calves. And again, that's the balance that you want aesthetically. So I do have to continue to hammer arms. But I feel like for me in general, if I just get my arms and my calves bigger, both of them, take another 4 or 5 inches off that waistline, right? I think we'll be in a good spot. I think that'll put me in a good spot as far as that goes. But what we're doing, just like with upper body, we're trying to hit every muscle from 2 different angles with 3 sets. Both lower days. So keep that in mind. People are like, well, it's only 6 sets. Yeah, but It's twice a week. So what I'm trying to do is to push the sets hard. And I've realized I don't want to do the crazy high volume training because I feel like I get lazy with the training. But with these movements, if I only have to do 2 exercises for a muscle and I only do 3 sets of each exercise, I feel like I will dig in and push harder. Like look at that last set of glute ham raises. Like I was turning red, like that was hard. We'll push harder. All right, same thing, these belt squats. I've been able to add weight since I've gone down to this. Of course, I'm trying to find the stances that really light my quads up the most, and that's what I'm doing because I feel like posterior chain, adductors, all of that, they're going to grow from the glute ham raises and the reverse hypers. I don't need to focus on them excessively with the squats because they'll still grow from the leg work also, even this stuff. So I'm trying to go with a little bit narrower stance, and I'm doing toes forward. And for me, I've noticed when I do that, like I get a really good stretch in my quads. I feel a deeper stretch, okay? I get a good burn there, a good pump, and so I like that. But yeah, on that last set, you could tell that last rep was a little grindy. I felt like I didn't have another rep left in the tank. That felt like a 0 rep in reserve. The first couple sets, I felt like I left 1 in reserve. All right, calf raise is kind of the same thing here, man. That last rep, that's why I picked this weight. I felt like this weight would be really difficult for 10s. It would be very close to failure. Again, I struggled with the last couple reps on this, getting to that 10. So, 385 is a real good place for these, right? And that last one, I had to really squeeze on it. But again, getting a pretty dang good calf pump when I do these. All right, the leg extension, and again, for people who've asked, why is that strap there? I'm using it as a lead. So I try not to, I'm running out of filming space, in terms of the length of these vlogs. So me climbing up, I don't want to film all of it every time. But that's there so that I can hold on to it and then get my feet into the thing and then turn loose of the straps. My quads, again, I think we see from this angle, I feel like they're getting bigger again. I'm getting some old muscle memory back because I had bigger legs back when I was fatter and stronger on the lower body stuff. So again, trying to hit some of that muscle memory, getting a nice single joint movement in after the other. And I would say as far as legs go, look, if you do a little bit of heavy squatting, I honestly think machine work can build everything else for your quads. And I actually like leg presses. I like hack squat machines. I don't think that there's anything special about that belt squat I have. And I want to point that out. I don't feel like belt squats do anything special unless you have like that big, massive West Side one where you can do other stuff besides belt squats. I don't think they bring anything to the table more than you get from a leg press or from a hack squat. Because again, some people actually have problems with that belt on their back. And I find that the belt itself can be uncomfortable. And I understand the point where we're creating, in theory, traction and everything there. But honestly, I've trained on a leg press, gotten really strong and big legs before on a leg press, and I've used hack squats. I think they're all relatively interchangeable. It's a matter of comfort, because at the end of the day, they're all a big squat pattern movement on a machine. They work the same muscles. Each one might allow for a little different stance or movement patterns, but I think they're all the same. I don't like those pendulum squats though. And people would ask me why. Because they throw you into weird angles. Like it's forcing you into almost a very unnatural, bizarre angle. Just how I feel about it, right? So there you go. I threw one clip in of me using the actual strap as a lead so you guys see how I'm actually using it. So then people don't have to keep asking. So there you've visually seen how I've done it. But yeah, as I'm looking even at this footage, the legs are getting leaner. I obviously still have a lot of fat in certain areas from having previously been really, really obese. And I'm just going to have to keep dieting it off. And it really is that simple. And the reason a lot of people never get the skin really tight enough is it's the amount of work it takes to diet lean enough to tighten it up when you've lost huge amounts of weight. I'm not talking about people who've lost 30, 40 pounds. We're talking 100 plus pounds, right? It's just the amount of work that it takes to get that lean for a lot of people. That's just, it's not on their radar. For me, it probably needs to be, right? Probably needs to be. So I'm just going to keep hammering away, and I'm going to have to do it in bite-sized chunks. Like I'm not really cutting right now. I'm just kind of sitting the same way to recomp a little, lose a tiny amount of fat, maybe regain a little bit of muscle, and then I'll probably eventually ease back into cutting a little further. But the thing is, I'm having to do it in bite-sized chunks. I really have to. because at a certain point, I feel like I do need to always get muscle, and I can't afford to lose muscle cutting, because I did with some of the previous cutting. I need to regain it, and I need to be able to do so without gaining body fat. But again, I don't want to lose too much muscle. So that's one reason I'm not just doing it all the way through. And I'm going to have to get my body used to each time being a little leaner, accepting that it's leaner, and then we repeat the process again. Right? And I'm just going to keep chipping away at it, bit by bit by bit, and I'm definitely considerably leaner. Again, many people knows of people who haven't come through in a year, 2 years, they're like, oh my God, what happened? So we're making progress, but it is a work in progress. The only thing I'm also running into with these leg extensions is I'm getting too strong at them now. My body's getting used to doing them. I'm even trying to change the levers to make them harder, and I'm hitting like some of these 40 plus reps again, even with this weight. And I'm now at a point where I can't superset and add weight, because then I won't be able to do the higher reps on the reverse hypers. But I might have to accept that and just do that eventually. We might have to just keep stacking weight on and just say, okay, reverse hypers might have to go down to 10 to 12. Because there's a point where it's going to be like, man, just getting enough tension. Again, my quads are big enough and strong enough that this is getting easy, and I'm trying to even control the swinging so that the pendulum isn't making it, easier. But again, keep in mind, for people who are like, there's some swinging, you can't avoid that unless I want to ruin and destroy my reverse hyper, right? By letting the bearings get rusty instead of greasing them. And so then I'm destroying $1,000 piece of equipment here. You're going to have to accept that. It's just part of the nature of the design of the machine, and I don't have a separate leg extension machine. And if I did one that would be even as good as this, it would be big, expensive, take a lot of floor space. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.